Thank you. We're back once again. Roger Kamenetz. Our conversation continues off camera here. Author of the new book, The History of Last Night's Dream. Of course, you remember him as the author of The Jew in the Lotus. I want to talk about that work as well. How much of what you learned, what you wrote about back then, is part of what you write about now?
Yeah, what's the connection?
Yeah.
We'd like it if our lives had wonderful continuity and logic. There is a certain connection because when I went to Dharamsala and I saw the Tibetan environment and the Dalai Lama, and it was so colorful, and there's so many images, you know, 1,000-armed Buddhas and beautiful Buddha ladies and, you know, red, blue, primary color tankas that people would meditate on. And I learned that the Tibetans are very serious about using imagery as a path to their meditative goals. And so I began to wonder, well, what happened in the West? I mean, we have all these wonderful dream stories in Genesis, and after that the book seems to shut on the dream. So if the Tibetans were using images and dreams in their teachings and learning, it seems like in the West we've put it aside, put it in the attic. So I guess I'm the kind of guy who likes to go in the attic and dig things out that have been up there for a while.
Is that because, and once again, I mean, you had written about how even in cultures that seem to be on the surface so different, the Tibetan culture and the Jewish historical experience and culture as well, that there were so many commonalities that existed there. Yet in Judeo-Christianity, in Western philosophy, so often it seems more intellectually oriented than Eastern philosophy, which seems to be much more spiritually oriented, no?
Well, Houston Smith is a historian of religions, tells a story that he was taking a group to India, and he had 5 minutes that he had given to this professor to explain all of Hindu philosophy.
5 minutes?
Yeah. So the professor was a good friend, and he said, well, in the West, you do philosophy from one point of view, the point of view of the waking mind. But in the East, we do philosophy from 4 points of view: waking mind, dreamless sleep, and Atman consciousness, or the highest consciousness. So in that scheme of things, you'll notice that waking mind is the furthest from the ultimate reality, and dreaming mind is a little bit closer.
When you say the furthest, reality as we perceive it, reality as it exists scientifically, empirically, what do we mean by reality?
I'm so glad you asked.
Well, we've got the time, so feel free, my friend.
Reality is that contested word, and generally in our thinking, reality is seen as the opposite of the dream. And yet, I think the deepest dream in the West, which is Jacob's dream of the ladder, you notice that when he wakes, his world's transformed. Whatever he's experienced in that dream of the ladder, and he sees God, and God promises him, I will be with you, and the angels are moving. And when he wakes, he says, this place was awesome, and I didn't know it. In other words, he learns something from the dream that carries over into his waking life and transforms how he sees the entire world. So we could say that generally a lot of us, because of our lives, we live in a kind of flattened consciousness on, I guess you say, flatland. It's a material world. That's the only, quote, reality. But sometimes a dream like that will come and make you question, maybe there's a hidden depth or a hidden height, hidden dimension to this everyday life that's revealed in dreams.
What do your dreams mean to you?
So many things. I've recorded about 800 pages of them. So, in the course of writing the book, they, you know, the first thing they did really was point out some of my, I guess you could call family issues, psychological issues. And you know, I remember the first dream when I first met Mark Bregman. I had a dream where I was riding a bicycle, and a policeman stopped me, and he said, "Is that your lawnmower?" And I was really upset. And then he said, "Can I see your driver's license?" And no, he said, "Do you have a driver's license for that thing?" So when Mark and I went through the dream, again, the principle is experience the dream as if it were real. So Mark's question was, well, why were you so upset? He was just joking with you. You know, he called you, in fact, he made 2 jokes. He called your bike a lawnmower, and he asked for your driver's license. I didn't see it. I didn't get it. So the dream was pointing to an issue about how I felt in relation to this cop, and in general, at that time, how I felt in relation to many other guys, you know. And I had this sort of defensive and kind of, angry reaction. I didn't know it.
To an authority figure, to power?
Yeah, and, so that dream was opening up a whole exploration of how I related to male authorities. Ultimately, I began to have dreams about my father. And ultimately, the beautiful gift of the work was that I really came to open my heart to my father in the last few years of his life through experiencing my relationship to him in dreams.
Do dreams come at different parts of the night for different reasons? I mean, science will have us believe that, there are certain parts of our sleep patterns where dreams are supposed to come, and biologically that's why they come, where they come.
Right.
What is your take on that?
I have no quarrel with the science at all. I think the science is showing us the power of dreams, and they're also showing us the regularity of dreams and the commonality, that dreams are something all humanity has in common. We're all dreaming. I don't know how many billions of people are on the planet, but we're all dreaming 3 or 4 times a night.
When somebody says, I'm bothered by my dreams, I keep having this dream over and over again, what do you surmise that's all about?
Well, I think we often are bothered. I think that many of our dreams are pointing to either unfelt feelings or feelings that are very unpleasant to feel. And so, of course, we're bothered by them. But the point is not to be bothered, but the point is to go deeper and find out what that's about. I mean, one thing is, how do I experience those same feelings when I'm awake? Because I probably am experiencing them also in waking time. So the dream provides almost a template for the kinds of feelings we also experience often in waking life.
But there's some dreams that seems everybody has. Everybody's had that falling dream,
Right.
So we got to take a break. So let's take a break on that and come back and talk about some of the common threads that run through this extraordinary thing we call dreaming. Roger Kamenetz is our guest. We'll be right back.